I wasn't planning to knock. That wasn't the point of the trip. It was supposed to be a simple, thoughtful gesture, leave a gift at the hotel front desk, drive back home before Leah even noticed I was in Austin. She'd mentioned the girls' trip for weeks, talking about brunch spots and rooftop bars and spa reservations with that easy, rehearsed tone she used when something mattered a little too much. I didn't question it. I just wanted to surprise her. A small bag with her favorite chocolate-covered almonds, a folded note scribbled in my clumsy handwriting. Love you more than sleep, and that's saying something. See. Something that would make her smile when she got back to her room. Something that would remind her she was loved. The woman at the front desk was young, chipper, maybe early 20s. Her uniform blazer was too big, sleeves swallowing half her fingers. She smiled when I said Leah's name. Room 904, she chirped, tapping keys. She's registered with a Mr. Curtis. Would you like me to call up, or? Wait, I'm sorry, what? I blinked. Room 904, she repeated, holding up a key card between two fingers like it was a raffle prize. Leah Blaine and Curtis Moore. You're listed as an emergency contact, so I can give you access if you need to go up. I took the card without thinking. Curtis Moore. I didn't know a Curtis Moore. Leah never mentioned a Curtis. My stomach started folding into itself, a slow, twisting feeling like I was being unwound from the inside. Maybe it was a mistake. A system error. Maybe Curtis was her coworker or part of the spa package group. Maybe it was just nothing. That's what I told myself. Over and over. I walked toward the elevator, the card trembling slightly between my fingers. I didn't press the button right away. I just stood there, breathing through my nose, pretending the tiles on the floor needed close examination. My heart was thudding, not racing, but heavy like a dull echo in a vast empty room. When I finally stepped inside the elevator and hit the button for the 9th floor, the air felt thicker. I stared at my reflection in the metal doors, looking for signs of panic in my face. I looked calm. Too calm. Like a man who hadn't yet accepted he was walking toward the edge of something irreversible. The hallway was silent when the doors slid open. Carpeted floors, soft overhead lighting, faint hum of the AC system. I walked down the corridor slowly, counting room numbers like they were stepping stones on the path to something I didn't want to see. Room 904. I stopped. From behind the door came the faint sound of laughter. A man's voice. Deep, relaxed, the kind of laugh that didn't come from a stranger. My breath caught in my throat. I raised my hand to knock. I was going to do it. Just one knock. Get it over with. Then the door opened. Leah stood in the doorway, barefoot, hair wrapped in a towel, wearing a white hotel bathrobe that clung slightly to her damp skin. She looked fresh from a shower or a steam room. She looked like she was glowing, but not in a way that made me feel proud. She froze for half a second, just long enough for me to see it. Surprise. Not horror. Not panic. Just a flicker of something she quickly masked. Cody, she said smoothly, like I was just the guy who brought the room service. What are you doing here? I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I held up the bag. Just thought I'd bring you a little surprise. She stepped forward, gently closing the door behind her with a soft click that said you're not coming in. Ah, you're so sweet, she said, placing a hand on my arm. But you didn't have to come all the way to Austin just for that. I stared at the door behind her, at the tiny silver numbers that mocked me with their neatness. Is Curtis in there? She didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Curtis? Oh yeah, he's one of the girls' coworkers. Jess had to share a room with him last minute since the other reservation got canceled. You know how hotels mess up group bookings. It's dumb. Really? My voice felt distant, like it was being piped in from another room. Yes, really, she said, smiling. I told you we were doing the spa thing today. That's why we're all in robes. Literally everyone looks like this. It's hilarious. Right, I said. You okay? She asked, her voice softening. You look pale. I just didn't expect to hear a guy laughing from your room. She leaned in, resting her forehead briefly against mine like we were on a date and not having the weirdest, quietest confrontation of our marriage. Don't overthink it, babe. Come on, this is supposed to be a fun weekend. I didn't respond. Walk me to the elevator, she asked, already turning away from the room, already redirecting the moment like it was a loose hair she could tuck behind her ear. I followed her. We walked the hallway together in silence. She chatted about brunch plans and how the avocado toast wasn't worth the hype and how Amanda got sunburned at the pool. She talked fast. Not nervous fast, more like a magician doing sleight of hand, knowing the trick only works if your eyes stay exactly where she wants them. When we reached the elevator, she hugged me. You're the best, she whispered. Seriously. Who brings gifts like that anymore? I shrugged. Don't let your imagination run wild, okay? She added and kissed my cheek. I love you. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside, gave me one last wave, and disappeared. I stood there for a few minutes after she left, the gift bag still in my hand. The door to room 904 still closed. The hallway quiet again. I didn't knock. I didn't barge in or call her out. I just stood there, haunted not by what I saw, but by what I didn't, by how calm she was, how easily she'd turned the moment inside out like a dress on a hanger. If she was hiding something, it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't desperate. It was clean, efficient, practiced. And that was what scared me the most. The drive home from Austin felt longer than it should have. I didn't take the scenic route or stop for gas or food. I just drove, hands tight on the wheel, eyes fixed ahead, my thoughts loud enough to drown out the music I forgot was playing. The bag of almonds sat in the passenger seat, unopened. I couldn't bring myself to toss it. Not yet. Leah's voice kept replaying in my head. The way she'd said, don't overthink it, like I was the problem for noticing anything at all. Like suspicion was something to be embarrassed by, not validated. She was smooth, no doubt about that. Every answer rolled off her tongue like it had been sitting on the tip of her brain, waiting for me to ask. I tried to rationalize it. I really did. I told myself maybe Curtis was just a coworker. Maybe Leah had been telling the truth. Maybe the bathrobe, the damp hair, the male laughter behind the door, maybe it all added up to something innocent. But something gnawed at me. That pause when she opened the door. The way she shut it behind her so fast. The subtle change in her eyes when I said Curtis's name. Not fear, not guilt, control. A performance polished by time. Back home, everything felt the same, but off. Like someone had taken my life and shifted it half an inch to the left. I noticed little things that had never caught my attention before. First, there was the gym. A few weeks ago, Leah suddenly became obsessed with working out. Not just casually, but religiously. 5, sometimes 6 days a week. It helps with stress, she'd said, tying her sneakers while sipping a protein shake. I hadn't thought much of it then, just another phase. But now it clicked differently. Her workouts were always in the evenings. Always right around the time I was getting home from work. She said she needed time alone, needed to clear her head, and I believed her. Then came the wardrobe change. Leah had always had good style, but lately it had taken a turn, shorter skirts, tighter tops, new lingerie tags left in the trash when she thought I wasn't looking. At first, I complimented her. Told her she looked great. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and changed the subject. But now I couldn't help but wonder, who was she dressing for? And the phone. God, the phone? She never used to care if I glanced over while she was texting. But now? Now her screen was always tilted away from me, dimmed when I walked into the room. Once, I saw her lock it the second I stepped through the door. Another time, she got up and left the room mid-conversation, phone in hand, saying she had to call her sister about something private. Maybe it was private. Or maybe it was Curtis. She changed her password a few weeks ago. Just updating for security, she'd said. I hadn't asked why. I hadn't thought to. But the worst part? The mood swings. Leah, who once lit up when I came home, now seemed irritated by my presence. If I asked how her day was, she'd give a one-word answer. If I tried to plan a weekend trip, she'd say she was too tired, too busy, too something. And if I touched her phone, God forbid, her mood turned icy. She once snapped at me for accidentally moving it while wiping the kitchen counter. It wasn't just emotional distance. It was a slow unraveling. And yet I said nothing. I watched. I listened. I memorized her new patterns like I was studying for a test I wasn't sure I wanted to pass. I started keeping mental tabs, what time she left, what time she came home, what excuse she gave when her plans didn't line up. One day I found a receipt in her purse. A $180 charge from a perfume boutique in the mall. I recognized the name, Luxury Stuff. Leah told me it was a gift for a colleague. Her birthday's next week, she said without blinking. She's obsessed with this brand. But that same scent lingered on Leah's clothes for days afterward. I asked once if she sprayed herself by mistake. She just laughed. Guess I got too close while wrapping it. I didn't laugh back. Still, I didn't confront her. Not because I was afraid of the answer, but because I wasn't ready for the silence that would follow it. The void that would grow between us if I asked and she lied, or worse, told the truth. So instead, I tried to be the husband she'd want to come back to. I cleaned the house. Cooked dinner more often. Surprised her with flowers one evening, hoping the small things might bring her closer again. She smiled, said thank you, and set them on the counter. The vase stayed there for 3 days before she remembered to fill it with water. That night, we sat on opposite ends of the couch. She scrolled through her phone while I stared at the muted television, pretending to watch something I didn't care about. The gap between us wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Like we were in different rooms despite being side by side. I looked at her and thought about the woman I married. The woman who once sang in the kitchen while flipping pancakes, who used to wear my shirts around the house and text me jokes during the day just to make me laugh. That Leah was still here but buried beneath something I couldn't quite name. Or maybe someone. I wanted to ask about Austin again. About the bathrobe. About Curtis. But I knew how it would go. She'd smile. Deflect. Maybe even laugh, like I was crazy for bringing it up again. She'd turn it around, ask why I didn't trust her, make me feel like I was paranoid. And maybe I was. But I wasn't wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there listening to her breathing, rhythmic and soft. She was turned away from me, her body curled to the edge of the bed like she couldn't get far enough without actually leaving. I watched the ceiling fan spin and wondered how long she'd been gone from me, really gone. Was it weeks? Months? Or was I just now waking up to something that had already ended? The next morning, I told her she looked nice. She was wearing a new top I hadn't seen before, low-cut, tailored, expensive-looking. She smiled, said thanks, and didn't ask what made me say it. I watched her leave for work. Watched her check her reflection in the mirror by the door, reapply her lipstick, adjust her necklace. She didn't notice me watching. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. When the door closed behind her, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. I stared at my coffee, untouched, and listened to the quiet hum of the refrigerator. There was something inside me, something I couldn't suppress anymore. A need not just to know, but to see. To hold the truth in my hands, to stop wondering if I was going crazy. Because I wasn't. I knew what I saw in Austin. I knew what I heard through that door. And now I was going to find out exactly what Leah wasn't telling me. 3 days later, I got the email. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had just come back from lunch and the weather had turned, the kind of unexpected cold snap that makes you feel like the sky is closing in. I was sitting at my desk in the office, going through spreadsheets, trying to convince myself I still cared about margins and monthly revenue projections. I was about to head into a meeting when the notification blinked on my screen. From unknown sender at protonmail.com. Subject, thought you should know. There was no message. Just a single attachment labeled vid_904_lobby_clip.mp4. I hesitated. For a full minute I just stared at it. My gut told me what it was. Or at least what it might be. My hand hovered over the mouse, my heart already beginning to race. I clicked. The footage was grainy, taken from what looked like a ceiling security camera angled toward a wide, polished hotel lobby. Time and date stamped in the corner, exactly the weekend Leah was in Austin. My breath caught when she entered the frame. She wore a fitted black dress, the one with the side slit I'd helped her zip up last New Year's Eve. Her hair was down, flowing in soft waves around her shoulders, and her heels clicked against the marble floor with confidence. Then Curtis entered the sh*T. I didn't recognize him at first, but there he was, mid-30s, tall, dark hair with that effortless business casual look. Sport coat, no tie, unbothered. He smiled as he approached her. She smiled back. Wide. Familiar. He leaned in first. She tilted her head, let him kiss her cheek. Then, without hesitation, she slid her hands around his waist. His arm moved comfortably around her back. Not platonic. Not even close. Then came the moment that hollowed me out. She tugged playfully on his tie. That little flirtatious tug, the kind you see in rom-coms right before someone falls into someone else's bed. Her head tilted back as she laughed, and Curtis leaned in like he wanted more than the lobby could offer. The clip ended with them walking toward the elevators, his hand resting on the small of her back. I didn't move. Didn't blink. I just sat there in my chair, the cursor blinking at me like it had something more to say. Everything slowed. The air conditioner hummed overhead. My phone buzzed, someone from the warehouse asking about inventory. I didn't answer. Couldn't. I felt like someone had just opened a trap door beneath my chair and I was still waiting to hit the bottom. Because there it was. The lie. Not imagined. Not speculative. Not a product of insecurity. It was video. Cold. Clear. Unforgiving. She didn't look caught off guard or hesitant or conflicted. She looked alive. Radiant. Happy. And that was the part that wrecked me. I watched the clip 5 more times. Paused it. Rewound. Zoomed in even though it made the quality worse. I looked at her expression, his hand placement, the rhythm of their bodies as they moved together like this wasn't new. Like this was their thing. I remembered standing outside room 904 with that little gift bag in my hand, feeling like an idiot for suspecting anything. And now I knew. I knew exactly who Curtis was. I knew he wasn't a coworker crammed into a girl's trip. I knew that while Leah had calmly walked me to the elevator, playing the role of the loving, slightly inconvenienced wife, Curtis was likely still inside the room we had just walked away from. The email didn't say who sent it. No signature. No explanation. Just that clip. A silent grenade tossed into my world. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Thank you for detonating my life? I sat there long after the meeting time had passed. People walked by my door, nodded, maybe waved, I didn't notice. My hands were still on the keyboard, but my mind was miles away, frozen in that hotel lobby, watching Leah laugh like she didn't have a husband at all. When I finally got up, I drove. Not home. Not to the office. Just nowhere. I watched the city blur past my windshield and wondered how many other men had felt this exact moment, that quiet collapse when everything you believed just stopped being true. The world didn't end with screaming or slammed doors. It ended in a quiet 11-second video with a timestamp and no sound. I pulled over at a gas station off the highway and sat in the parking lot for nearly an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat, the image of Leah and Curtis frozen in my mind like a photo I didn't ask for. I thought back over the last few months and it all started lining up. The new perfume wasn't for a colleague. It was for her. The gym obsession? Probably just a convenient excuse for time away. Or maybe Curtis was her trainer. God, I hadn't even considered that possibility. The guarded phone, the constant mood shifts, the explanations that always seemed a little too ready, it was all part of it. All clues I'd seen but hadn't wanted to connect. And then there was Austin. She hadn't flinched because she already had a story. She hadn't panicked because the lie had already been rehearsed. All she had to do was follow the script. And I played my part perfectly, silent, trusting, foolish. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked tired. Not just sleep-deprived, but soul-tired. The kind of exhaustion you feel in your bones when you realize you've been living in someone else's fiction. Back at home that night, Leah acted like everything was normal. She made dinner. Asked how work was. She told me about a new podcast she was listening to, some self-help guru talking about clarity and self-worth. The irony nearly choked me. I watched her as she moved around the kitchen, so composed, so comfortable in the life we'd built together. And for a brief, fleeting moment, I wondered if she still loved me. Or if she ever had. Because it's one thing to cheat. It's another to cheat and carry on like you're not unraveling another human being behind their back. I said nothing. Not that night. Not the next. I kept the video. Saved it to a hidden folder on a flash drive. Locked it away, not because I wanted to forget, but because I knew I'd need it soon. Not for revenge. For proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that my gut was right. Proof that the version of Leah I once knew had been replaced by someone I no longer recognized. And with that knowledge came something new. Resolve. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my brother. Not my best friend Ryan. Not even my dad, who could always sense when something was off with me just by how I answered the phone. I kept it to myself like a secret infection, something festering just beneath the surface that I didn't want to touch for fear of what it would spread into. Instead, I planned. I'd never considered myself a particularly strategic man, at least not outside of work. In business, sure, I knew how to read the numbers, cut losses, and pivot when needed. But in relationships, I was the guy who stuck it out. Who believed love, if nurtured, could carry the weight of almost anything. But that video changed something fundamental. The illusion had shattered. The marriage I thought we had, the life I thought we were building, was already gone. What was left was a structure propped up by my silence. A house held together by denial. So I started dismantling it. Quietly. The first thing I did was pull my name from the joint credit cards. It was easier than I thought. I claimed I wanted to streamline our finances, and Leah nodded, barely listening as she scrolled through her phone. Next came the accounts. I moved half of our savings into a separate bank account under my name. Again, nothing illegal or dramatic, just simple, careful transfers over a few days. The car was already in my name. The business, my chain of express car washes, was completely mine from the start. I made sure to double-check the incorporation paperwork just to be safe. Leah had lost her job 6 months earlier. She never told me. I found out through a mutual acquaintance, one of her old co-workers who came into one of my locations needing a vehicle detail. We made small talk while I waited for his receipt to print. He asked how Leah was holding up since the company layoffs. Layoffs? I'd asked. He froze, realizing his mistake. I just assumed she told you. Sorry, man. When I asked her about it that night, she didn't deny it. Said she didn't want to stress me out. That she thought she could find something new quickly. She told me it wasn't a big deal. Then she changed the subject to what she wanted for dinner. That conversation stayed with me more than I thought it would. Because even then, after the video, after the hotel, after the cold distance in our bed, a small part of me still hoped there might be a version of us that could be salvaged. But the way she lied so easily, so efficiently, it told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't planning to come clean. Not about her job. Not about Curtis. Not about anything. She was waiting for something. Or maybe someone. So I decided to disappear before she got the chance. 2 weeks after the video, I put the plan into motion. I scheduled my exit for the weekend. She'd mentioned a spa retreat with her friends. She didn't know I already knew it was another trip with Curtis, this time to San Diego. She said she'd be gone 3 nights. That was more than enough. I waited until she left Friday morning. She hugged me goodbye, told me she'd bring me back a fancy soap from the hotel boutique. I nodded, kissed her cheek, told her to have a great time. Then I got to work. By noon, the house was a flurry of quiet motion. Movers I'd hired showed up right on time, 2 guys, professional and fast. I told them exactly what to pack: my office, my clothes, my tools, and a few heirlooms I didn't trust Leah to leave alone. The rest, furniture, decor, dishes, I left behind. I wanted nothing that carried her fingerprints. While they loaded the truck, I changed the locks. I had the locksmith scheduled for 2 p.m. He showed up early. I handed him the new hardware, watched as he unscrewed the old brass handles Leah and I had picked out during a date day at Home Depot 3 years ago. When he finished, I handed him cash, then walked through the house one last time. The bedroom looked sterile without my things. The closet half empty. The bathroom counter no longer cluttered with my razors or aftershave. I walked past the living room where our wedding photo still sat on the mantel. I didn't take it. Let her stare at it and wonder when exactly I started pulling away. Before I left, I placed a sealed envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a copy of the divorce papers, already filed, already processed for delivery. I paid extra for expedited service. The packet included her summons, my attorney's contact information, and a simple handwritten note. This was already over. I'm just making it official. Cody. Then I left. No dramatic exit. No scorched earth. Just silence. I stayed at a hotel for the first few days. Then moved into a short-term rental while I finalized my relocation. I didn't post anything on social media. I didn't tell anyone where I'd gone. For all Leah knew, I had evaporated. And for the first time in months, I slept. Really slept. No tossing, no staring at the ceiling wondering if I was imagining things, no anxiety gnawing at my stomach. Just sleep, deep, uninterrupted, guiltless. The text messages started the morning she got back. At first, they were confused. Cody? Where are you? Why aren't you home? Hey, the locks are changed. Did something happen? Can you just call me? Then came the shift. What is this? Are you serious? I can't believe you're doing this like a coward. You don't even have the decency to talk to me face to face? I didn't respond. I didn't unblock her. I let the messages pile up in the void. Emails followed. Then voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. One even came from her mother. I ignored them all. Because there was nothing left to say. She knew what she had done. And now she had to live in the aftermath she created. 2 days later, Curtis tried calling me. I recognized the number from the hotel registry photo. I discreetly ********* Ted back when I still believed in restraint. I didn't answer. I let him speak to the dial tone. Because this wasn't about confrontation. This was about separation. Curtis could have her. The version of her that lied, deflected, covered, and twisted love into something transactional. He could deal with her phone always flipped over, her sudden need for space, her constant avoidance of truth. Let him find out who she really was the same way I did. Let him have her silence. Her manipulation. Her mess. Me? I was done. Done with the guessing. Done with the denial. Done with being the second to know in my own marriage. And with that clean break came something I hadn't expected. Freedom. I expected silence. Maybe some passive-aggressive texts, a few angry voicemails, the inevitable social media subtweets dressed in faux sadness. What I didn't expect was to wake up one morning, check my phone, and find Leah's affair trending in our city's Reddit forum. It started small, an anonymous post titled, "Caught my coworker with a married woman at a hotel. Should I tell her husband?" There was a blurry ***T attached. Low-res, grainy but unmistakable. Leah. And Curtis. The hotel lobby. His hand on her lower back, her fingers curled around his tie. My stomach flipped. Comments poured in. Some called it a hoax. Others debated morality like it was a game show. But a few began piecing things together, names, timestamps, even tagging local business profiles. And then someone dropped the bombshell. Isn't that Leah Blaine? She used to work at Bexford Tech, got laid off recently. Within hours, the thread exploded. *TS of LinkedIn profiles. Cross-reference posts from old Instagram stories. Someone unearthed a Facebook check-in from Leah's girls' trip. Another found Curtis's corporate bio on his company's website, which conveniently vanished later that day. But the internet doesn't forget. The *TS lived on. I found out about the thread when Ryan sent me a link with a single text. Is this what I think it is? I didn't reply. I just clicked and scrolled. There she was, dissected in 1,000 pixels by strangers who didn't even know her name a day ago. The comments were brutal. And I'd be lying if I said a small part of me didn't feel some twisted satisfaction. Not revenge. Not joy. Just validation. Because for weeks I had carried this alone. I had watched Leah lie with the *LL of a stage actor, pretend with the ease of someone who had nothing to lose. And now? Now everyone could see it. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't the paranoid husband looking for reasons to unravel. She'd done that all on her own. By the next morning, the clip had made its way to several local gossip blogs. A few included my name. One headline read, "Car wash entrepreneur's wife caught in hotel tryst with exec." It was surreal seeing your personal hell become someone else's entertainment. And yet I didn't flinch. Not because I didn't care, but because by then I was past humiliation. Leah, on the other hand, imploded. I don't know exactly when she saw the footage or how she found out she was going viral, but I imagine it was somewhere between day 3 and 4. When her work history was being debated like a criminal record and people were posting Yelp reviews on Curtis's company page calling him a snake in business and bed. By day 5, Curtis was fired. Someone leaked an internal email, his resignation dressed as a termination. Mutual separation. Values misalignment. Corporate speak for, "You got caught being a fool and we want you out before the board meeting." Leah didn't fare much better. She hadn't had a job to lose, but her reputation took the hit instead. Every time she tried to apply somewhere new, the footage followed her. The internet had tagged her, pinned her name to a mistake she couldn't unmake. Her family wasn't immune either. I heard from mutual friends that her sister, who once called me the best thing that ever happened to Leah, cut contact completely. Said she was done defending her. Their group chat? Dead. Her book club? Dissolved. Even her college roommate, who once posted weekly about their friendship, quietly unfollowed. It wasn't just about cheating. It was about arrogance. The kind that convinces you you're untouchable. The kind that makes you smile for the camera in a hotel lobby while your husband is 10 floors away holding a gift bag with your favorite candy. People don't forgive that kind of betrayal easily. Especially not when it's public. As for me, my inbox filled with support. Clients I hadn't spoken to in months reached out to say they were sorry. My staff rallied. They covered shifts, sent meals to my rental, even pitched in to update the lobby at one of our car wash locations, repainting it in my favorite colors without asking. It was their way of saying, "We've got you." And they did. Business boomed. Somehow, word of the scandal had the opposite effect. Customers poured in, not for gossip, but out of loyalty. One woman told me flat out, "Anyone who walks away with that kind of grace? That's someone I want to support." Another left a review that said, "Best wash in town and the owner doesn't take crap from cheaters." I laughed the first time I read that. It was absurd. Ridiculous. And yet weirdly comforting. In the aftermath, I didn't gloat. I didn't post cryptic quotes or air dirty laundry on social media. I didn't reach out to Leah, didn't reply to her increasingly desperate texts. I watched from a distance as the world held up a mirror to the mess she made. And the irony? She'd always been so concerned with image. So obsessed with curating the perfect version of her life, the filtered brunches, the smiling selfies, the captions about loyalty and elevating your circle. Now her name was tied to the very thing she used to mock: scandal, chaos, exposure. I don't know if Curtis ever tried to reach out again. Maybe he did. Maybe he thought we could clear the air. Maybe he wanted to explain. But I didn't care. He was just a symptom, not the cause. Leah's betrayal wasn't born from opportunity. It was born from intention. A series of decisions she made in full awareness, full control. And now she was watching the consequences land one after another like dominoes she never thought would fall. One day, weeks after the video broke, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in Leah's handwriting. Inside was a letter. No apology. Just a note. "I never thought it would end like this. I hope someday you can forgive me." There was no signature. No, love, Leah. Just those words. Thin. Fragile. as if she still didn't understand what she had destroyed. I read it once. Then I set it on fire in my backyard grill. No drama. No spectacle. Just flame and smoke and the quiet relief of letting go. The media cycle eventually moved on. As they always do. Another scandal took its place and people stopped talking. The hotel clip became old news. The thread lost traction. The blogs deleted their posts or buried them beneath newer betrayals. But Leah? She couldn't delete it from her life. That video would follow her. Not just on the internet, but in job interviews, on dates, in conversations with people who almost recognized her. She had branded herself with it, etched it into the public record. And that wasn't my doing. That was hers. Me? I kept building. After the fire, things got quiet. Not in a sad way. More like the kind of quiet that follows a storm, where everything feels cleaner, simpler, stripped down to what actually matters. I moved to Houston 6 months later. New city, new pace, new set of keys. I signed a lease on a modest place in Montrose, a converted bungalow with creaky floors and a porch that reminded me of childhood summers. It wasn't flashy. That was the point. I opened a new location for the car wash franchise on the edge of the Heights. The neighborhood had personality. It was old Houston, brick buildings and independent cafes, not yet swallowed by chain stores and luxury condos. Business was good. Steady. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was running away from something. I met Ellie in line at a hardware store. She was behind me with a box of light bulbs and a toilet repair kit, and we made small talk about the weather. She didn't flirt, didn't laugh too loud or try to impress. She was just easy to be around. Honest eyes. Calm voice. The kind of person who lets silence happen without making it weird. Over time, we started spending more evenings together, quiet walks, puzzle nights, homemade pizza. No big declarations. Just showing up. She never asked about my past, and I didn't rush to explain. There was no need. With Ellie, trust wasn't a prize to be earned. It was something we built together, one small moment at a time. I started sleeping better. Laughing again. Things that used to trigger me, ringing phones, hotel lobbies, women's perfume, began to fade into the background. Not forgotten. Just softened. She asked once, gently, if I'd ever been married. I said yes. She didn't press. That night, she made me tea and we sat on the porch watching rain bead down the railing. That was it. No interrogation. No pity. Just space to be who I was. And somehow that made all the difference. It happened by accident. 2 years later, I was in Austin again, this time for a business expo. I'd taken Ellie with me, made a weekend out of it. While she browsed artisan shops downtown, I ducked into the mall to grab a new belt. That's when I saw her. Leah. She was standing at a kiosk near the food court, wearing a branded polo shirt, demonstrating Bluetooth headphones to a teenager who clearly wasn't buying. Her hair was shorter, her face thinner. She looked tired in a way makeup couldn't fix. She saw me. Just for a second, our eyes locked. No words, no expressions, no second chances. She blinked. I nodded once, barely, and kept walking. I didn't turn around, didn't feel the urge to speak. I stepped outside into the summer heat, found Ellie waiting for me with 2 iced coffees and a smile. Later that night, back at the hotel, I reviewed documents for a new LLC. Ellie's name was right beside mine on the partnership form. And that was it. No rage, no triumph, just the quiet knowing that I hadn't just survived the worst chapter of my life. I'd rewritten it. And somehow, without revenge or apology, I had finally closed the book.